Well, I've repositioned the materials for this build into a spot in the garage where I can work on this regardless of the weather. I've got my manual here for the Woodlander XL Sawmill trailer. So this is a really long trailer. We are going to have the ability to cut 16-foot logs on this. I may actually need to reposition this a little bit more because the length of this is going to be pretty close to the available amount of space that I have in the garage. So I think I need to move it towards the front of the garage a bit so that when it's done being built, the trailer tongue is pointed out of the garage. That would be pretty logical, wouldn't it? All right, well, I just confirmed the final dimensions of the trailer, and the place where I've got this set is just fine for that assembly length. So I'm going to proceed. This is where I realized that I needed to look more closely at the bolts that I was using. And it turns out that the set of bolts that I'm using right now to try to put this together are the wrong ones. There's a couple of different lengths. These are like M10 by 25, and what I needed were M10 by 30. I needed to look first in another box to find a large bag of M10 by 30 bolts. So fortunately I didn't get very far because I ran out of the incorrect size bolts. So just something to look out for when you're building these. Really take a look at the labeling on the packages of hardware and be sure that you're using the correct hardware when you're putting the pieces together. All right, well, I've built that much. Not going to be the fastest build ever, but that's okay. The next stage is adding on these long side plates. They get bolted onto the side of the tracks. And ultimately, the sawmill has these tracks. The side plates are the frame of the trailer. And so this is kind of an interesting hybrid, the way they've designed this. Anyway, on to the next piece. Well, now that I've done one side, I can see the logic of how this is assembled. It looks like it's going to be a very stiff and strong structure. One thing that's going to be tricky, I can tell now, is all of these plates have to have a certain alignment to them. And there's spacing that matters between the sawmill track and the side rail of the mill. There's a lip here that you can't see on camera just because of the angle right now, but the side rail is a little lower than the top of the track because the wheels sit on the track and they overhang a little bit. So there's something, I was reading through the instructions and it said you need to maintain a consistent spacing, and I think it was 3/8 of an inch or something. I'd have to refer back. But there's going to be a lot of loosening, slight adjustment, snugging up, more adjustments, and so on to get these side rails aligned properly with the track so that the entire assembly is nice and straight. All of the holes are oversized for the bolts, which means there's a pretty good amount of slop until you snug up the bolts. And all these things have torque specifications. I'm not anywhere close to torquing yet, but the assembly process is going to be pretty interesting as we get through the alignment part of it. But I want to give you a closer look at these sections. So these are all just bolted together. There's a gusset underneath that holds them together, gives it a lot of strength and reinforcement. Well, so far I have this end built up. The jacks are just under there temporarily. You use them to level out the entire frame while you're assembling the rest of it. So I have to go put the front end extension on and get the jacks under that end. And then we start installing more of the bunks. So the interesting process I have to do now is leveling out the bed. And so I've got this little laser level, nice little Bosch unit. Picked that up at Home Depot a while back for another project. And so I am putting it in the corner of the track and looking at where the laser hits the series of bolts along here. I don't know if you can see that on the camera or not, but you can see the laser kind of hits right along here. So I've got to loosen up these other bolts just a little bit to allow the track to kind of flex into position. Of course, for added fun, I'm sure the floor in the garage isn't perfectly flat and level either. Well, that's slightly alarming. These rear jack stands have gotten a little off kilter. Do not want this assembly to fall over. That would be very bad. Okay, so we're right on the 1 1/8" line with the laser there. And here, we are right on the 1 1/8" line. So I'm going to say that is as straight as this is ever going to be. So let's tighten these down in place, and then we can do the same on the other side. Hey, so I think that's going to about wrap it up for today. This leveling process is a little painstaking. It's not easy, and my attention span is waning. So this is something I really have to focus on if I'm going to get it done correctly. At any rate, thanks for watching. If you enjoy these videos and you want to see more about this sawmill, go ahead and hit that like button. If you don't, or you want to see something different, leave a comment and we'll talk about it. At any rate, thanks again. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.